Hey everybody, Roberto here in my house. And this video is inspired by my two good buddies, Guy and Matt. They have their own YouTube channel called The Comic Book Guy, which talks about, well, comic books. And one of the things they like to mention every now and then is what's in their collection. And it got me thinking, because I have well over 8,000 comic books in my collection, amongst a lot of other things. And I figured, let me showcase on one of the characters I have a lot in my collection, and that is none other than the Punisher. And before I forget, please like, subscribe, and comment on my videos. Thank you very much. And also I want to give a little shout out to the Punisher's creators, writer Jerry Conway, artist Russ Andrew, and also comic book artist legend John Romita Sr. So I just coming over a little bit of a funky cold, so throat's a little bit funky. Now, my Punisher collection. I've always loved the character. I think he's one of the most tragic figures in all of literature, not just comic books. Again, if you think about it, the man survived a war in this case, and if you want to stick to the canon, he survived Vietnam. He was a decorated Marine. He was a captain. He comes home. He and his family goes out for a picnic in Central Park, only to witness a mob hit. The mobsters turn their guns on them and kills everybody but Frank Castle. He barely survives. And then, you know, that itself is the genesis, the origins of the Punisher, which was told a few years after his debut. Now, what's in my collection? Well, as you can see, I'm wearing a Punisher sweater. And I have the Punisher hoodie as well. I have several shirts of the Punisher, just like in this design. I have one just like this. And then I have another shirt that is just full-blown white skull. There's no breakage or anything like that. I don't know which one I like the most. When it comes to design, I think I kind of like this design a little bit more. Two Punisher hats that I have. I don't wear them. I have them on my book casing. I don't have it with me, but they're over there in the kitchen. I have two Punisher cups, they're different designs, and I have a Punisher mug. I had this on my keychain, but the little thing that connects broke off. Fortunately, I was able to get this on the floor. I was at Publix, and I remember reaching for my keys and then got hooked up, and the little chain broke off, and this fell, and thank goodness I was not next to a sewage drainage, because this could have easily fallen in there. But yeah, I have it around the house. And speaking of my keys, I got my Punisher key. My car. In front of my car, I have the Punisher emblem or logo, call it what you want. And at the back, same thing. My tactical backpack that I've had for almost 5 years. I have a Punisher logo on it, one of the Velcro things. And again, if you've been watching my channel for quite some time, when I shoot, you notice I have a Punisher ring. Oh yeah. And speaking of shooting, again, if you've been with me for quite some time, I have a Punisher magazine. I was at Shooter's World up in Orlando, and I needed more magazines, and this was the only magazine of the Punisher, and I had to get it. I have the Jon Bernthal Pop. I have all the DVDs, all the movies of the Punisher. So there's that, and of course I got the Blu-ray Punisher series as well. Now on to the actual comic books. I have hundreds of comic books of the Punisher, so I was very particular on which ones I wanted to showcase. And one of the things I want to showcase is the Marvel Knights Omnibus by Garth Ennis. Talk about really redefining the character. Thank you very much, Garth Ennis. this volume has the Welcome Back Frank, which was issues 1 through 12, and then later on the series of the Marvel Knights, which was issues 1 through 37. So all of it in here, fantastic. And I purchased this 2 years ago at AwesomeCon. I want to also say thank you very much to Renee Wittestecker, who is my quote-unquote boss lady. Whenever she needs help, an assistant, she'll call me or somebody else, say, hey, are you available to go to a show and help with so-and-so and so-and-so, because she's a representative with a lot of comic book artists and writers and certain actors and actresses. So again, depending on how my life is regarding work, photo shoots, or anything else, I always try to say yes. And this time I did say yes to go to AwesomeCon, which again was in Washington, D.C. I was working with Michael Golden, who's the co-creator of Bucky O'Hare, co-creator of the Micronauts, and his most famous character, Rogue from the X-Men. I've worked with Michael for almost 6 to 7 years. Phenomenal guy, and it's pretty cool that I could call him my friend. So keep that name in mind. Coming up. So again, I got this. It was already autographed by Garth Ennis. And I said, oh, cool, I'll purchase this. Now the vendor was like, okay, are you sure it's personalized? And sure enough, when you open it up, it's personalized. And when I saw the name, I said, I'm still getting it. And he looked at me kind of funny, and I'm like, okay. And I said, listen, it's totally fine, because I go by Robert, and it is personalized to Robert Cheers Garth Ennis. And I've met Garth Ennis. I have several items of his autograph, so I know for a fact that is his legit signature. So I got it. When I came back to the table, Michael said, what do you got? And I showed him, and I told him about the whole personalized thing, and it's made out to Robert. He got a good laugh out of it, and he said, here, give me the book. And I said, yeah, sure. And next thing you know, Michael drew or wrote the O in there. So yeah, thank you very much, Michael. And speaking of Garth Ennis, I have every single issue that he did when he did Punisher Max, 1 through 60. If not, that's probably my favorite rendition, my favorite run of the Punisher was when he was on Max, in the Max line. They should have kept him in that Max line, honestly. But again, I'm a sucker for these omnibuses, depending on the character. And of course, I had to get the Punisher Max Volume 1 omnibus. It's just phenomenal. And my favorite storyline in here is actually Mother Russia, because that has Nick Fury in it. And to see Nick Fury and the Punisher in a Max storyline, I never thought that would happen. And there's a great scene with those two at a diner, and it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. So again, and also regarding the comic books, there's a little shop at kind of close by me in Ave Maria. I forgot the name of it. I'll look it up and I'll make sure I paste it right here. I have issue number 1 of the Marvel Knights Punisher. Absolutely amazing. It looked like it just came off the print line. And another comic book that I saw that I had to get, even though I have these 2 issues already, they're kind of beady. So, but these are like more of a very near mint condition, so I had to get them. But this one is one of my favorite covers in general, not just because of the Punisher, but it's one of my favorite covers. And it's Punisher number 53. And the best part about this cover, it was illustrated by Michael Golden, who I mentioned before. I never thought in a million years that I'll be working with the guy that drew one of my favorite covers of all time. And the story about this is that the interior artist was running behind on deadlines and couldn't do a cover. So they contacted Michael, and Michael said, yeah, sure, no problem. Worked out the rates and produced this cover in just under 90 minutes. And I said to him, you drew this whole thing, the Punisher moving, the Uzis, this, that, the fire escape, all within just under 90 minutes. And he's like, yep, I knew what I wanted. And that's master craftsmanship right there and storytelling. So again, I'm very, very fortunate that I have this comic book in a near mint condition. And the best part about this, earlier this year, Jon Bernthal, yes, the actor who's currently playing the Punisher, actually posted this same issue on his Instagram. So I took a screenshot of that and sent it to Michael and Renee. And they got a great kick out of it as well. So that's pretty cool that this comic book is getting some good legs out of it. Now, this one piece is, I'm trying not to get too emotional about this, because when I see this piece, I think of two individuals who sadly passed away. So, my good buddy French, who was the unofficial co-owner of Big Cats comic book warehouse in Naples for almost 35 years. He passed away, I think, about maybe 8 years ago, something like that. Anyway, so I miss him a lot. And earlier, French was hitting some hard times. And he was selling a lot of his items, his collection. And I remember coming to the shop one day, I think it was like in my college years, so it was a long time ago. And he had his items, and I saw his portfolio, and I saw this piece, and I said, how much? He goes, I want this much. And I said, okay. Can you maybe knock down 50? Okay, just because it's you. So I got this piece. Now this also, again, is sentimental on another aspect, because I became good friends with this artist. So I have a commission piece, Punisher, illustrated by comic book icon legend George Perez. Again, I got to meet George Perez for the first time in 2006. My first show ever at MegaCon. And throughout the years, we got to know each other. I got to know his wonderful wife, Carol. And again, at one point I remember bringing this to him so he can personalize it for me as well. So again, I have a George Perez Punisher commission piece. All thanks to my good friend, French, who I very, very much miss. For that matter, I miss both of them very much. Yeah, so again, I'm trying not to track too much, but again, I miss those two a lot. Now on the flip side, I mentioned AwesomeCon, how I got the Garth Ennis personalized book. Well, right next to Michael Golden was famed artist himself, Mike Bagley. Love his stuff, and I'm like, I gotta get something from him. And before I forget, also, Mark Bagley, thank you very much for serving this country. So his rates were there, what he wanted for commission pieces. I'm like, okay, fantastic. I asked him for a Punisher piece, and here's my Mark Bagley Punisher. So yeah. MegaCon 2025. I was working the show. Again, thank you very much, Renee. I was working with Michael and Arthur Sudan. I was also working with Arthur Sudan as well, so I was going back and forth between those two artists those 4 days. But in the meantime, Jerry Conway was there. And again, Jerry Conway is the only surviving creator of the comic book character. So he was signing, and he was doing little sketches. So I had my drawing paper with me. There's his price for a skull. Okay, cool. Put my name down. And he drew me a skull, but it was that small compared to a big paper. And I go, oh. And he looks at me, is something wrong? And I said, no offense, Mr. Conway, but, I got this whole big space right here, go big or go home. And he got a good laugh out of it, because he said it's the first time that anybody wanted the sheet completely filled up. So he goes, okay, you got it. So the next thing I know, he drew me this, or sketched me this. So yeah, so I have doodle of the skull by the co-creator, Jerry Conway. And of course, had to get my picture taken with him. Now again, Jerry Conway has been in the industry since the early 1970s. Just look him up. I mean, his sheet is very, very long, and again, master storyteller. And then there was another issue at hand. So I have him. What else can I get? Well, in June, I saw this piece on RamitaArtman.com. I've had dealing with Ramita Artman twice. Again, thank you very much. Fantastic individual. I don't know how you deal with all the thousands and thousands of original art pieces that you had, and with all the hundreds and hundreds of people contacting you to purchase items. I don't know how he does it. But again, there was an item that he had for a while, and I'm surprised nobody purchased it. I couldn't believe it. And I had comic books in my collection that I knew I could sell or trade that had no emotional attachment to me. And that's what I did. I sold some comic books, got some good pricing out of it. So then I used that money to help so I could purchase this piece. And this piece is, and again, a few comic book geeks out there, and you know who's who of artists and all that great stuff. I have an original John Romita Sr. piece. That's right. I have a John Romita original piece, and it's of course The Punisher. So I have two pieces of artwork by the co-creators. I'm just missing a Ross Andru, and that would be the Trinity, if you could call it. Unfortunately, I haven't found any Ross Andru Punishers out there, and if so, they're probably gonna be wicked expensive. But yeah, so again, pretty cool. And my last pieces, I'm going to show you my last three pieces I have in my collection. I was in Texas. Again, thank you very much, Renee, and I was working with Michael. As you know, the Daredevil TV show introduced the Punisher for this generation, and I actually have that comic book when they first teamed up, which was Daredevil issue 183. Actually, I have every single issue by Frank Miller when he took over the pencils of Daredevil, which was Daredevil issue 158, and it ran through all the way through 191, issue 191. And also, don't forget, Classes Jansen was a big help of that run as well. But when I went to Texas, I saw this issue and I had to get it. Again, it's Daredevil 183, the first meeting of these two characters. And it's a grade 9, so I was happy with it. The one that I have, if I got it graded, it'd probably be like maybe a 7 to an 8, but that's okay. So, I mentioned the Punisher Max. I have every single issue of the Punisher Max by Garth Ennis. I also have an extra copy of a #1, which I can't believe I have because it's #1, graded 9.9. Are you kidding me? I got this the same year when it was coming out, which was back in, I can't believe, in 2004 when this series came out. And it was on eBay. There was only one that was being selling, and I got it, and dirt cheap price. Dirt cheap. I don't know how I was able to get this, but I got this at such an unbelievable price. And I don't know what the census is for this, but for 9.9 Punisher Max #1, yeah, I'm really, really happy with it. And last but not least, in my Punisher collection, Amazing Spider-Man 129, grade 6. The first appearance of the Punisher. That's right. There's a little story about this. Many, 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 many years ago, I purchased a raw issue of 129. Later on, I got it submitted to CGC, and it came back a grade 6. I was happy with it. I was really happy with it. I had that book for a while, but In 2006, my junior year of college, I was hitting some financial issues a little bit, even though I was working, all that great stuff, but I needed 4 new tires and a new timing belt on my car. It was the first time ever I had to start selling stuff in my collection, and unfortunately, 129 graded 6 was one of the things I had to sell. It was one of the biggest regrets I ever had. It hurt so much, but I had to do what I had to do. I had to sell a good handful of books just so I could take care of my car. The car did last me an extra 4 years after getting the new tires and the timing belt. So, for what it's worth. But again, I always had that regret. That all changed in 2022, which, again, thank you so much, Renee. She contacted me earlier that year, and I think it was in February of 2022, when she said, hey, we need your help. Will you be available in July to go to the San Diego Comic-Con? And I said yes before she could finish her question. I said, I will start walking right now. But no, she flew me to San Diego, got me a hotel. I was working with Michael and her for those 5 days. Phenomenal. I mean, if you have never been to the San Diego Comic-Con, I know there's a lot of mixed reviews, a lot of mixed reactions, but again, just experience at least once in your life. Get the full experience. I've gone there 3 times thanks to her, but again, 2022 was my first time going, and again, I brought books with me. Again, I brought 4 books with me that had no emotional attachment. I knew I could sell, trade, see what I could get out of it. And it worked out because I remember right before the show started on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon, I came across a vendor and he had, I think, about 7 copies of Amazing Spider-Man 129. And the grades all varied from 3, the highest was a 9. And there's no way I could afford a 9. Or an 8, 7, that would be really pushing my budget. But there was the 6. There was the 6, old 6 right there. So I had my items with me. I showed my comic books to the gentleman, like, are you willing to do trade? He looked at my books and he's like, okay, we can work something out. And then I just paid the difference. And yeah, my first time going to the San Diego Comic-Con, and I brought this home with me. So yeah, I never thought, again, I'm so glad I got this book back in my collection again. So that is it, guys. This is my Punisher collection, or the Punisher collection that I very, very much grateful that I have. So again, thank you for letting me geek out, and thank you for checking out this video if you lasted this long. So again, thank you so much for everything, guys, for checking out my video, liking, commenting, all that good stuff. And one last look. All right, that is it, guys. Take care.